My name is Ryan Walker. I'm Senior Mining Analyst at Echelon Capital Markets with another installment of our mining Q&A series. Today we have Heye Daun, CEO and co-founder of Osino Resources with us. Osino is currently exploring and drilling off what looks to be a sizable resource on their strategically large land package in Namibia. Heye, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Great to be with you again. I know you have a long history with us and with the project, so it's great to talk to you.
Great, thanks for taking the time. So I guess initially we should just ask, what is the current COVID situation with you guys? Are your operations suspended? You ever have any personnel test positive? What's the status in that regard?
No, so Namibia, the status at the moment is that there's a limited lockdown in place in Namibia due to COVID. But Namibia has very few cases. I believe it's around in the low 30s, not 30,000, 30s. It's literally minimal. But because it's on the border of South Africa, and South Africa has a much higher concentration of cases, Namibia seems to be fairly careful. So the borders are closed. You cannot travel there or leave Namibia. But operationally, for us as a drilling company, we started drilling again about 3 or 4 weeks ago when the lockdown progressively got eased. And we're drilling as we speak. I mean, we do have the usual COVID precautions in place, but we haven't had a case. We're in a pretty isolated place, so I think we are safe. I mean, Namibia recently went back up a notch, so they tightened their COVID sort of lockdown regulations again. But we applied for special dispensation to keep drilling, which we received literally a few days ago. So at the moment, for us, it's business as usual.
Okay, that's great to hear that nobody's been infected. That's great. So I guess let's just jump right in. You mentioned you're back up and drilling. What are the drill plans for this year? Are you fully permitted, fully funded for the work you plan?
Yes, we are fully permitted. I mean, the way drill permitting works in Namibia is you have to get an environmental clearance certificate. So the Namibia is quite proactive in its regulation. So we got that in the beginning. So the permits are in place. We announced our drill program for 2020 earlier this year, comprising roughly 20,000 meters. But then we drilled 4 holes in March when we started, and then we got interrupted by the lockdown. So we were locked down for about 6 weeks, during which time we did other useful stuff. And as I said just now, we started drilling again 3 weeks ago, and we're working our way through this program. We are also adding to our infrastructure and logistics, like vehicles, geologists, and recently acquired a large core shed, etc., because the plan is to increase that drilling towards the end of the year. I think the project is evolving very nicely. We're trying to get as many holes into it as we practically can.
Okay, and so the bulk of the drilling that's ongoing primarily aimed at Twin Hills Central, I would imagine.
Yeah, about 3/4 Twin Hills Central, and about a quarter, let's call it brownfields exploration. To remind your viewers, or I mean, as you described in your research report, so Twin Hills is a large sort of 15-kilometer gold system. It's got a big surface footprint, but it's entirely undercover. So it's fairly complicated exploration, structurally controlled, and we use mag as a proxy for structure. Now, yeah, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. So 3/4 of the drilling is intended to test the Twin Hills Central, which is sort of the pearl on that string, to use that analogy. And that drilling is intended for resource definition and expansion. We don't have a resource yet, but I think we will be there fairly soon, like in about 6 months' time, towards the end of the year. We should be there, let's say Q1 next year, definitely. Let's give myself a bit of gap. So therefore, to reiterate, 3/4 of the drilling into resource definition and expansion, and about 1/4 of the drilling into brownfields exploration and real new exploration.
Okay, that's great. And so you mentioned a resource probably early next year. What would be the goal there? And I don't want to nail you down to a specific number, but what would success look like as far as you're concerned with the maiden resource?
We keep moving the goalpost, because to remind you, the company, our vision a while ago was to make Namibia's next significant gold discovery, or to find Namibia's next significant gold deposit. We've achieved that. So then my initial goal became to delineate something that has at least 1 million ounces, because I think that's just the sort of credibility threshold.
Sure.
And even though we haven't got a 43-101 resource out yet, we do have a good handle using Leapfrog and other internal mechanisms that are non-code compliant. We have a good handle where we're heading, and I can tell you that my maiden resource aim is substantial than that. So I think anything between 1.5 or 2 million ounces is the target. And I think you asked me what would be a real success, would be something closer to 2 million ounces. I think 1.5 million ounces is, in inverted commas, in the bag already. Of course, the other question that you'll ask is at what grade. I can't tell you that. But I think our resource grade looks like it's going to shape up to be similar to the other two gold mines on the belt, which is Otjikoto, which B2Gold owns, and Navachab. So we're heading in that direction. So I think anything between 1 and 1.5 grams per ton, probably initially closer to sort of 1.1, 1.2, that sort of number, I think we can expect.
Okay, great. And then outside of Twin Hills Central, there are numerous other targets out there on your land package. Are there any that you're particularly excited to get into and will indeed test this year?
Yeah, so I think in terms of, let's say, working our way down in terms of level of advancement, so Twin Hills Central clearly is a discovery has been made that drill process is not quite mechanical, but it is largely mechanical. And then in the vicinity of Twin Hills Central, basically within close trucking distance, like a 5-kilometer radius, i.e. within that Twin Hills gold system, we have what we call Twin Hills West, which we're quite excited about. I mean, Twin Hills West sits on the same structure. It has already been, we've gotten about 4 drill holes into it. We've already intercepted some gold, like 10 meters at a gram or so. It's fairly small intercept so far, but it does have a large arsenic anomaly, surface anomaly, much larger than the gold anomaly. And arsenic is obviously an indicator of arsenopyrite, which in turn seems to be associated with higher grades. So yes, Twin Hills Central, we've just drilled. We actually, in fact, right now, today, we're drilling the 4th hole on Twin Hills West. Sorry, Twin Hills West, that is.
Okay.
So if we make a new discovery there, that would be great. That opens an entire new satellite deposit, like a new front to the west. And then we've got similar targets to the east. One of them is called Clouds, which is, again, the eastern strike extension of Twin Hills Central. So we quite pleased about that.
Just in that answer, you kind of mentioned an association with higher grades with arsenopyrite, which might, some investors might pique their interest there. Could lead to refractory gold issues in some cases. I know metallurgy, is being done right now. Test work's being done, and it's due later this year. But can you maybe give us some color on that? Is it an issue?
Yes, no, we don't expect it to be an issue. Remember that all the deposits on this belt are sulfides, firstly, and a lot of people think sulfides is equivalent to bad. It's not like that. So Otjikoto is a sulfide deposit, and so is Navachab, and neither of them have any particular metallurgical issues. They've got a straight CIL flow sheet, except that in Otjikoto's case, which B2Gold owns, they have a huge gravity circuit up front because of the nuggety and free nature of their gold. They extract 60% or even 70% of their gold with gravity only, and that's why they have such high recovery. So they're shooting out the lights in terms of metallurgy. Our base case, at the moment, it's too early to tell whether we will be able to shoot out the lights. But our base case is that we are going to have easily treatable metallurgy, and that's not to answer your question. It's based on petrography and thin sections that we took, or that work that we did earlier this year, which indicates that the gold grains are free within the sulfide matrix. And we followed that up with leach test work, which we're just waiting for the results. Any day they should be in. If that leach test work shows that we don't have a recovery problem, i.e. the ore is free milling, that's our base case, then we will carry on with much more detailed met test work to optimize the flow sheet. But at the moment, it looks like we will have free milling, standard, easily treatable ore. That's our base case. So therefore, even though we have the arsenopyrite isn't always problematic, because we don't know yet how much of the gold is in the arsenopyrite as opposed to the other sulfides. But just because it's there doesn't mean it's a showstopper.
Just, I guess, jumping around a little bit, going back to Twin Hills Central. So, I guess the last drilling kind of stretched that strike out to about 1.3 kilometers, roughly 160 meters deep. Are you seeing anything at depth as far as grades increasing, maybe getting into some type of feeder structure down there? And will that be something that'll be tested during the ongoing drilling program?
Ooh, hard to say. You got me on that. I might have to go back to my geos and ask. I mean, we certainly see the grade increasing from east to west. So, and our exploration is generally going in that direction. So that seems to be a trend. Grade improving as we go deeper, not necessarily. I think the real question is what direction or how the high-grade shoots are oriented. And it seems like they are oriented roughly in a sort of northeasterly, southwesterly direction, i.e. with a strike of that zone. But to me, I'll answer your question differently. I think there's a lot of volume potential as we go down, because that syncline, as you say, has only been tested down to 160 meters with those inclined holes. I'm sort of indicating on the screen here. But, it's open at depth, and we've got up to 100, 150 meter thick package. And as that goes down, we actually, in the last 2 weeks, we drilled a couple of very deep holes, 350 to 400 meters depth, to intersect that package deeper. So that could be a very nice volume kicker. Will be, I'm fairly certain. What the grades will be is hard to say at this stage, but I do think we'll find higher grades elsewhere and at depth.
So you've mentioned the Otjikoto mine a couple times during the interview so far, and a lot of investors probably remember you from Oryx Gold from several years ago. Obviously, that was a great success. You were co-founder there as well. Sold to B2 Gold in 2011, and that's just been a great mine for them ever since. So can you maybe contrast and compare the experience there with what you're experiencing now at Twin Hills?
Yeah, thanks. Obviously that Otjikoto experience has been great for us because we know that deposit intimately, and we were obviously involved in advancing it. But B2 then turned it into the success which it is now, and that has been very good for us. So in terms of comparison, one thing I can say certainly is that the geological architecture of Otjikoto looks very similar to Twin Hills, or vice versa. So it's basically a thrusting environment, folding and faulting. You have these parasitic folds at the prospect scale all the way down to the centimeter scale, and the hinge zones in those Z folds seem to be the controlling features for the grades. So that's very positive. We're very encouraged that we have an increasing understanding of the structure, and it looks similar to Otjikoto, and also the size and the scale is similar to Otjikoto. So that gives us an idea, we're heading in the right direction. What has encouraged us a lot is our hit rate has been quite a bit better than the early hit rate at Otjikoto. If you look at the type of intersections that we've achieved with fairly limited drilling, our package, our sedimentary package, seems to be thicker than Otjikoto. The grades initially looked a little bit lower, but that seems to be coming into its own now. So with the sort of early stage internal management assessments we've done with regard to volumes, like resource volumes and grades, and I mean, this stuff isn't 43101 compliant, and that's why I should be careful how I talk about it, but it gives me enough comfort to say that with the same amount of drilling, we should have a substantially larger maiden resource than Otjikoto. Otjikoto came out 5 years after discovery. They came out with 25,000 meters 5 years after discovery, after 25,000 meters of drilling, they came up with about just under 1 million ounces at 0.9 grams per ton. So I feel fairly confident that we're going to exceed that substantially with a similar amount of drilling. And those numbers will come out in six to 9 months' time. But we would have done it within 18 months, whereas Otjikoto, it took 5 years, and another 5 years to PEA stage, and another 3 years to be built. So my feeling was with Twin Hills as compared to Otjikoto, the resource will grow faster. It will quickly look similar to Otjikoto in terms of size and grade, but I think in the development timeline will be substantially compressed. And obviously that's because we have more conviction, better funding, better gold market, and so forth.
Great. No, I covered that story back in the day, and it was a great story. Obviously ended well. So congratulations on that one, and look forward to hopefully a similar, if not better, outcome here. So just to kind of encapsulate the whole interview and just, highlight what catalysts we might expect during the balance of 2020 that are really going to drive the shares. If you could give us kind of the highlights there, what you think would propel the stocks.
Yes, I will. Okay, thank you. No, I just wanted to acknowledge, you were the first analyst that actually covered Oryx Gold back in the day. So it's nice to go full circle again with you. So to come to the catalyst, well, firstly, in about the next couple of weeks, literally, I think 2 weeks from now, so 2-3 weeks from now, like within June, we will announce the leach test work, so the med test work that we discussed earlier. That's an important one. Then from sometime in July, we will have drill results. We've done another 2,000 meters of drilling already completed since the lockdown ended. So I think those results will come out sometime in July. But, generally we'll try and announce results in batches rather than hole by hole.
Okay.
Therefore, July, August, drill results, and then semi-regularly drill results on an ongoing basis. I think there might be the occasional ongoing consolidation of ground, opportunistic acquisition of ground. And then later in the year, let me say early in the new year, the important one will be the maiden resource.
Sure.
Of course, as we go along, if there are noteworthy technical milestones that we reach in the next 6 months, we'll put that out. I mean, we are doing so much work in the background, I should just say. It's a lot more than just drilling. We're doing a lot of the preparatory work that would go into a PEA and into development type work like geotech, med test work, EIA baseline studies. Lots of that work has been initiated, and so we might report on some of that from time to time, and I do think it's important. I mean, the other one that I should mention is the acquisition of surface rights is a key aspect, and I hope that we will be able to report on that in the next few months, because we're dealing with a single rancher, and we're very interested in acquiring that land. And we did the same thing again with Otjikoto. It's the same playbook. Back then, that was the first thing we did, is we acquired the surface rights, and it made the permitting of that mine eventually by B2 Gold so much easier. So we're just looking to do the same that we did with Otjikoto back then.
Great. Well, I mean, not only do you need to drill off a resource, it's important to get those major de-riskings, the land and the metallurgy sorted out even early on. So that's good to hear. And so it sounds like you guys are very busy. So thanks for taking the time to give us an update today. And hopefully we can reconnect in maybe 2 months and get another update and see how things have gone. And we'll have some more recent drill results to talk about. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time for us today.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you for the effort that you guys are putting into this to get the story out there on our behalf. So yeah, we look forward to talking to you again.
Great.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks.